My talk about VAC stirred up a lot of discussion. Some of it was constructive, other bits not so much, and some of it was very memeable. Reminder that Philip is deeply financially invested in CS2 and is incentivized to support the game due to his monopoly on Philip-based music packs. Did you know that when you buy one of those packs, he receives a substantial sum of money? To consider Philip a trustworthy source of CS2 info is laughable, given this clear conflict of interest. The motive is clear and his expressed views should be considered inherently biased. Even when he seemingly critiques CS2, this is simply a ploy to lure you into an elaborate mind game that, rest assured, the end result of which is simply lining his pockets. I have reason to believe these strategies are meticulously designed through complex AI simulations, the likes of which you won't see him making a video on. We must always seriously consider the notion that any CS2 content produced by the man is pure shilling. To believe otherwise makes you a means to his ends. Stay safe out there, guys. In this video, I will touch upon some of the more well thought out and interesting messages I received, like that one just there. And I'm going to do so because they're interesting. But take this video with a pinch of salt. I can't verify how knowledgeable these people are, but I think you'll find what they have to say very interesting, even if they might all just be Valve shills. Now, people pointed out that the bots on deathmatch servers were there to grind accounts and achievements, and not to mess with anti-cheat. Well, I'm going to reply by saying, yeah, we all knew they were grinding stuff already. That went without saying, which is why I didn't say it. Which sounds like I forgot to say it, but really it's because I assumed we all knew that about them already. But why are you so sure that they can't also be there for another purpose? Also, it doesn't really matter what they're there for. Simply by existing, they're a form of cheating that an anti-cheat needs to be able to detect. According to one comment I got, automated bots are known as walk botters. And they exist because cheaters love service medals, because it's a real flex to be cheating on an account with something so prestigious and difficult to get. It shows you have confidence that your cheats will not be detected. And apparently a ban wave wiped out most of the prestigious and highest red tier of service medal accounts. He also mentioned some interesting cutoffs, like how spending at least $500 on your Steam account would give you a permanent green trust factor status. Take all this with a pinch of salt, as there's no way for me to verify that this is how it works. But who doesn't love gossip like this? Before walkbotting was a thing, there was a huge boosting system, apparently very prevalent in China, which was done on Vertigo or in Flying Scoutsman, where 10 bot accounts would queue up, fully populating a server, and they'd give one of the teams the win or a draw for experience and drops. All this has now been replaced with walkbotting, where all the bots exist among us, hidden in plain sight. And while you might spot it when these bots are obvious, many do take precautions and measures to make them harder for you to spot. It's a bit like CGI in movies. You only spot bad CGI, which makes you think that all CGI is bad. But it isn't. There's a lot of good CGI, and it's invisible. Same with these walkbotters. Now, if these bot players are spectated, some of them will go still to make themselves look less suspicious, or they'll simply disconnect from the server and join another one instead. I've seen this happen in the past, although not in recent weeks. And I suspect this sort of behaviour would be very easy for Valve to be able to spot and to blacklist. But what do I know? AI players. A good thing? Near the end of my last video, I said that bots are being trained to mimic humans so closely in order to not get caught by VAC systems. And then I pointed out that an unintentional benefit of this would be that they could double as great bot players to populate the game with in the distant future when there are no longer enough human players to play against. CS2 does already have bot support, but they're fairly primitive and bot-like, compared with a more elaborate AI-trained model. But how would such a transition occur towards this AI-populated future of CS2 that I envision? Games like PUBG already have measures in place where they populate some of their servers at least partially with bot players. I'm not sure if they're AI, doesn't really matter. I love this. These bots are easy enough for me to kill, which makes it more satisfying for noobs such as myself to play the game. And it cuts down on wait times, as you don't have to wait for the server to be fully populated before commencing a match. And it softens the impact of a game's declining player base, and thus the impact said decline will have on its remaining player base. Although saying that, PUBG's doing pretty well as it is. Maybe in part thanks to its bot-populated servers. Yeah, I get it. For some people, the appeal of a multiplayer game is to play against real players, and to know that they're moulding at their keyboard somewhere else in the world whenever you shoot them. And for those people, the concept of wanting to play against AI might be a weird and alien notion. So let me tell you why people might want to. I've always been more of a single player kind of guy. I grew up playing games against NPCs. I actually liked playing Counter-Strike because it let me create maps and then automatically populated them with bots which automatically knew their way around my maps. I like playing games like Age of Empires 2 against AI players because I can easily configure a challenge that I can enjoy, and since their ability is fixed, I can benchmark my progress in the game against them. Whereas with multiplayer games, it's all very fluid. The entire player base is always changing and improving, and when combined with ranked play, I find trying to get better at Counter-Strike feels like running on a treadmill that's constantly matching my speed. And this, to me, eliminates the very purpose of trying to get better at the game in the first place. Unless you're going to reach the very top, which you're not. So back to the main question. How would Valve transition CS2 over from fully multiplayer and towards this part human, part bot future that I envision? Well, I guess they could train up their own AI to use, but it might just be cheaper and easier to buy one that's already been trained by a cheat maker. I still think there's something quite poetic about the arms race between cheaters and anti-cheat, eventually ending with a beautifully trained AI player that becomes a commonly accepted part of the game. I don't see this being a reality for many years to come, by the way, and I think if they did do something like this, it would be very controversial right now. But still, fingers crossed, one day we'll get competent bot players. Expose.gg messaged me. This is a community-led Overwatch project where suspicious players submitted for users to review. You'll recall such a feature being part of CSGO, but in more recent years that's vanished. And if it does still exist, then it's operating mysteriously and behind closed doors. I assume to prevent it from being messed with by bad actors. But with CS2 lacking such a feature publicly, Expose.gg have taken it into their own hands to build their own Overwatch system, and have made it into a game of sorts, with people gaining ranks for flagging player recordings correctly and so on. According to their findings, after the recent VAC update on September 13th, 14th, almost all aimbot cheaters were detected and removed, apart from those so flawed that they might as well have not been cheating in the first place. Wall hackers don't seem to have been affected by the ban wave, with many of them returning to the game a week after the ban wave occurred, I guess because they assumed it's safe again. A few people reached out to share all sorts of very intricate details about DMA systems. To try and put it simply, it involves cheats operating somewhere beyond the capabilities that anti-cheat can reach. You think kernel level's deep? Well, look at this diagram showing even more circles, even deeper into the circle. Meet system management mode, where the cheat runs on your computer's processor but like in another dimension to everything else, thus making it very hard to detect. And before people call for an anti-cheat that has access to that. I can't find the comment now, but someone told me that CS2 not having kernel level anti-cheat is a bit like leaving the front door of your house open for burglars to gain free access to your house. And I thought about this analogy for a bit and decided that a better analogy would be that kernel level anti-cheat is a bit like giving your house an extra door and the keys for that door to Valve, and hoping that they only use them for good and that they keep the keys safe and away from burglars. And that's really why people are against being forced to use kernel level anti-cheat, because it's adding an extra backdoor to your system, which is an extra vulnerability, and although the chances of it being exploited are slim, if it is abused, then the consequences can be severe. There's a way of detecting numerous DMA methods by using IOMMU, which detects if devices are accessing game memory. A lot of this isn't specific to Counter-Strike, seems there's an elaborate cheating community in many multiplayer games. And I was linked to an interesting timeline detailing the war between DMA hardware and anti-cheat systems. Here's a picture of the HPTT device. It currently goes for about $4,500, and if you'd like to know how it works, it's where custom PCIe controllers leach and inject data into the PCIe bus through the existing connection of a legitimate device, usually a Wi-Fi adapter or SSD. This is similar to the DMA cards, with the exception that this is entirely invisible to the operating system and even the system on a hardware level. Put it simply, the battle against DMA is likely to be an ongoing struggle for anti-cheat systems, but it more or less answers why Valve didn't bother with kernel level anti-cheat, because once a measure is implemented, it simply spurs on an arms race that they must then commit to forevermore, and it only gets more damaging for the end user when it all goes wrong. The benefit of AI-driven anti-cheat focused around detecting suspicious behaviour is because it doesn't matter how cheats are achieved. You could be using basic cheats, kernel-level cheats, or super elaborate and expensive DMA cheats, leaching stuff into PCIe holes and penetrating your PC's lumps and bumps in all sorts of ways. But if they're providing a benefit to your gameplay, then it's that benefit that's being detected, which keeps it simpler for Valve to address and to keep on top of. It's great to know there are so many enthusiastic and knowledgeable people who are happy to reach out to me, so I hope you found this video as interesting as I have, and if nothing else, I hope it's given you greater appreciation for the complexity of developing a working anti-cheat system that can counter an increasingly elaborate and formidable cheating arms race.